Hello people, I'm Jaby KOAY, joined by ACHARA KIRK.
What's up, what's up?
We're looking at a Vir Das video. Am I saying his name incorrectly?
Vir
Das.
I believe so.
Is the West more privileged? Hashtag 10 on 10, Vir Das. Vir Das, right? Okay, Episode 3. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Vir Das Comedy, his YouTube channel. He has said how difficult it is for him to get subscribers on his channel. Like, he's been very verbal about that. So if you like his comedy, make sure to subscribe to his channel. And if you think your friends will like his comedy, try to encourage them to subscribe to his channel as well.
I'm not one of these Indians who idolizes the West anymore. Are you with me, huh? Yeah.
But you did at one point. I'm kidding.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe that's the comedy. The crumbling.
Life in the West isn't that great, is it? Like every time I meet people who live, like, by the way, by the West, I mean, you know, all of those countries, like America, Germany, Britain, because they're all the same. They're just terrified people being ruled by blondes with bad haircuts.
No, it's just kind of like what white people say about Asians. Like, they're all the same.
You know, every time I meet people from the West, I'm like, if life in the West is so good, why are you still doing dishes? Your cousins in the West do their dishes, don't they, yeah? We don't do dishes. You know what it takes to make Indian people do dishes? A global pandemic. That's what it fucking takes. Before we will enter the kitchen. We don't do dishes, we create employment. We oppress a weaker section of society. And we learned that from you, the West. How did white people invent servitude and then just forget about that shit? If there's a free square foot in India, we will put a job in that square foot. Agreed? In the West, you go to a parking structure, you put your own window down, you hit a button, the ticket comes out, you take the ticket, the barrier goes up, you go park your own car, and when you're going out, you take the ticket again, the barrier goes up, you put this thing, you pay your own thing and go out. In India, there is a guy who pulls the ticket and gives it to you in your window.
We used to have that.
I think the West isn't good. Like, you know, you check into like a Western hotel in like London or New York, you have to carry your own bags. That
Not
sucks.
always.
On like a weekend trip.
It depends where you're going.
We can't do that. We have 36 bags. Why do you think so many Indian immigrants live around Heathrow or JFK? Because we just landed and we're like, we're not carrying this shit to downtown, we'll just live here. When you get to the hotel in the West, there's no toothbrush in your room. I hate that about American hotels. At the Taj, if you pay enough money, we will brush your teeth for you. We'll come up with a scheme, molars for dollars or something. You know, if you fall sick in America, you have to go to the pharmacy and wait half an hour and get medicines yourself. Do you want to do that? I come from Mumbai. In Mumbai, you can have chemotherapy home delivered, alright? And if you pay a little bit extra, the guy who gets you your chemo will pick up a pack of cigarettes for you on the way to your house.
Wow.
That's Mumbai. Haan, bhaiya, 4 chemo, 2 ultramild le jana, please. Stuff. In the West, you have racism, and racism is such a primitive system of thought. Why? It seems archaic to hate somebody basis the color of their skin when you can hate them basis what college they went to. I don't care if you came from Africa if I know you're going to Amity. That's all I'm saying. You know, American parents don't pay for college. They make their children take loans. You know what we would do if our parents made us take a loan? We'd go and tell everybody in the fucking mohalla, Papa loan lena chahte hain. And the next week, Papa would pay for college. In the West, your accent matters so much. You know, how you sound dictates how you get treated. I have so many American cousins. Remember that Apu from The Simpsons controversy, right? And they're like, oh my God, that Apu accent is racist and it's offensive and it propagates the wrong stereotypes. And I was bullied in high school because of that Apu accent. And I'm like, yo, Apu isn't the Indian with the funny accent. You are. Apu doesn't sound strange to me. You sound strange to the motherfucker, right? I love them guys because they pay in dollars. I love them, alright? But I like it. They're wonderful people. But, you know, let's be racist together under this tree, huh? You know, we used to deal with that shit because you were nice cousins who gave us cool gifts during the summer holidays, right? But now we have cool shit at home in India. So now you're just a guy who can't say gulab jamun properly. Even Indians with a British accent, I can't deal with. That's like you're not following historical protocol. You can't have the accent you were historically oppressed in. It's weird. It's like a cat coming over to your house and you're like, here, kitty, 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 and the cat is like, woof. You leveled up, pussycat. Have you noticed that Indians only ever pick up aspirational accents? Yeah. Like we'll pick up like an Aussie, American, British, right? There are 100,000 Indians in Russia.
Really? Oh.
You ever met one guy at a wedding? Yes, I will have to go up Jamun's place. You met this guy? There are Indians in Mexico. Hey, Wapo, give me 2 gulab jamuns, man. There are Indians in Germany. Yeah, unter will have 5 gulab jamun. This is the final solution. Where are these Indian people? And the worst accent is that Indian uncle NRI accent. You know the one? The Indian guys who've been abroad for half their life and here for half their life. That weird, hey man, come to my shop tomorrow. I give you a good deal on jeans for your daughter. Who do you think you're talking to? You talk like that. You sound like Stephen Hawking fucked Deepak Chopra, alright?
Jesus Christ.
Really? Have you seen the big tech hearings? Why do you think Sundar Pichai is not in trouble? It's because they can only understand half the shit he says. You got him, Mark Zuckerberg, and that homeless guy from Twitter. And Google shares the most data, by the way. The most data is shared by Google, which is such an Indian thing. Because Siri will secretly listen to you, but Google Assistant will listen to you and tell everybody else. That's as Indian as it gets. I don't know. What do they have in the West? Do they have privilege? Is that what's so exciting? I don't think so anymore. You know, Indians have privilege, unlimited privilege. In India, everybody's privileged compared to somebody else. No matter how good you have it, somebody has it better. No matter how bad you have it, somebody has it worse in India. In the West, there's a bottom. Like in America, if your life gets worse, you've left. You've hit Mexico. And in India, no matter how good you have it, somebody has it better. Mukesh Ambani is the richest man in India. Lives in his own skyscraper. Even he's jealous of somebody. Like, even he's looking down at his neighbor like, look at Sharma ji. His son knows how to drive properly.
What? I don't...
That must be some kind of...
That must be some kind of deep joke. Yeah.
You're going to lose electricity in 5 seconds. Yeah, privilege. I don't know what they have. Maybe here's what they have in the West. They have an entitlement for justice, where they feel like each one of them deserves justice. And if they don't get justice, they march. I love that. My favorite thing in the world is when white people march. Starbucks whites, not swastika whites.
Starbucks whites, Jesus.
Right? When they get out in the West, they're like, we disagree with the policies of this government, so we're gonna march. We're gonna walk from here to there. And then from there to there. And our sacrifice will change the world. Meanwhile, there are children getting their heads split open in JNU and children with umbrellas on their heads in Hong Kong and revolutionaries who threw Molotov cocktails at crowded tanks in Egyptian squares looking at that shit on TV going, Basam, what are these white people doing? They're marching. Is this a political takeover, a military coup? No, Bashir, they are just woke. Wait, they are woke or they woke? In America, it's the same thing. Well, what have they accomplished? 16 blogs and 2 hashtags. White people will film hate crimes because they're entitlement of justice. Have you seen that? Yeah? Something's going wrong, a white person will pull out their phone. What you're doing, sir, is wrong. This is a hate crime. You're going to go viral, so there are going to be consequences. This is wrong, sir, it's wrong. Every time a white person films a hate crime for somebody over there, in the background you can see an Indian person just quietly walking to work. He's like, I didn't see shit, I don't have my green card yet, this is not my problem. And yet they're divided. I feel like the West is more divided than we are in terms of their left and right. Would you agree with that, yeah? It's because their politics is so down the middle. It's like Harry Potter. That's what their politics is. They're both fighting a fictitious enemy whose name they cannot say.
Yeah.
And they divide them. Like they go to one group of people and they'll be like, okay, you are Gryffindors and they are Slytherins, and you are special people who are going to defeat the Slytherins. Then they go to this group of people and be like, you are Gryffindors and they are Slytherins, and you are special people who are going to defeat the Slytherins. And the truth is, we are all Hufflepuffs. Nobody gives a fuck about us. That's a good response to that joke. Because you know, usually in the West they're surprised when I do that joke. There's like one white lady like, they have Harry Potter in India? And we do, right? Any fans of Harry Potter, yeah? It's huge here. We've loved British magic for centuries now. Remember that one magic trick where they made all our resources disappear? That was such a good trick, guys.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
The most interesting thing about this is that he is making fun of everybody at once. Mm-hmm. That's the sneaky thing about this particular comedy, because he's making fun of India and the West at the same time. He's basically calling bullshit on everything at once.
Yeah.
And I find that very fascinating and ballsy. But there are some things that he's saying where I'm like, oh, that's sort of true. Like, you know, you go to, there's a number of hotels where it's like they really want to take your bags. You know, you go to New Orleans, they want to take your bags for you to your room. There's a lot of hotels like that here.
Yeah, it depends on the hotel. But I think for the sake of the joke, it's just
right.
kind of, you know, making fun of that, like, do-it-yourself culture, which, you know, moving from Asia to the West, there was a, like, learning curve for me because so many of the things had been done for me my entire life. And then suddenly it's like, oh, I have to do all these things myself. How do I do that?
But what he's doing there is he's sneakishly making fun of the oppression of a certain demographic, of a certain class in Asia. Mm-hmm. That's what he's sort of pointing a finger at. Is like in the West they have to do this. Over here we've got this. You just got to oppress people. And you know, that's Louis C.K. made a similar joke about, I forget what it was, about like the White House or something like that, about slavery essentially.
Yeah,
he's like all you have to do is not give a fuck about a group of people and you can have anything you want as a country. Like that was Louis C.K.'s joke. It was an HBO special years ago. The thing where you take a ticket for yourself when you're going into, like, this is a very common thing here in a lot of parking lots, right? It used to be a thing in certain areas where they'd have a person there just to be there, not to hand you the ticket. But in case you couldn't reach the ticket, they would get out of their booth, their comfortable booth. Yeah. But eventually they realized that that person wasn't doing anything but getting paid to be there. And so they just got rid of the person and now it's just a ticket. And so they basically consolidated it into one job, one person on the other side of the parking structure who has to haul ass to get to you.
It's so embarrassing if you're ever that one person who has an issue with their ticket. Yeah. And then suddenly there's like 3 other cars behind you and you're just like, oh my God, just let me out.
Yeah, just let me go in. Exactly, either way, in or out. It's just embarrassing because there's a whole bunch of, it's a stacked line behind you. It's really silly. If there was just a person they paid to be there, it's like, how much money does it really cost to have that person employed to be there, you know? There's certain parts, like if you go to Oregon, you have to you can't pump your own gas. Yeah. They have to pump it for you. It's a law. Whereas here you pump your own gas. And it's like, it's weird to me that's backwards. That I have to pay, like I have to tip someone to pump my gas for me. It's like, I'm capable of pumping my own gas, sir. Thank you. You know?
Let me pump my gas. That is a whole cultural thing, right? At least growing up in Asia, I was very accustomed to having, you know, a maid, a gardener, a driver. I guess I just became a little spoiled. But when you think about it, like to people who grew up in the West, oh, America is the land of opportunity and, you know, it's so great to be in the West. And then it's like, well, actually things are pretty great in Asia too. It's just different because I think grass
is greener.
Yeah, like when I tell people, oh, I had this growing up, they're all like, wow, you know, like that's the lifestyle that you can have here in America if you're mega rich, whereas it's totally normal.
One of the things he pointed out was racism in the West. He says India doesn't have that, but they have colorism in India. They have colorism in the world, not just India, but in the world. Like in Mexico, they have colorism as well. They'll just judge you by the tone of your skin, which is crazy to me. One of the things he mentioned was, you know, instead of racism, they just judge you by what school you went to. It's like he's making fun of both simultaneously. It's another example of that, which I think is very, very clever because it might go over your head if you're not paying attention to it.
Yeah, because like you could say like, oh yeah, you know, there's no racism, but there's a whole bunch of other prejudices that are prevalent within Indian culture. Like it still really tickles me, like sometimes in our live streams and stuff where we'll get questions about like, yes, but what degree did you get? Like which university did you go to? I'm like, why is that important though? That has nothing to do with what we're doing here.
Yeah, and he also pointed out Apu's accent, which was very interesting to me because when they decided to remove Apu, the character, from the show, I had mixed feelings about it for a number of reasons, which I've already dove into a while ago. But like the short version is, I feel like the characters of any ethnicity should be open to any ethnicity playing that character. Meaning if like you want a black person to play a white person, that's totally fine. If you want a white person to play an Asian person, that's fine. As long as it's equal opportunity, then it's fine. The problem isn't so much who's playing what, in my opinion. The problem is it's a very tight, small group of people playing all the roles. And so it almost feels like Indians' issues with nepotism. It's like a handful of people doing everything. And that sucks because like there's all these talented folks who don't get a chance to do those jobs. And most of those folks, I guarantee you, are Caucasian. And that's the problem. So I don't have an issue with Hank Azaria playing an Indian character. I have an issue with not enough Indians getting to play anything. Yeah,
the thing that I get concerned about in the case of that is like when actors of another nationality or ethnicity do the accent, I don't mind so long as you're doing it and it sounds authentic. It's just insulting to me if someone does like say some other Asian accent, a Thai accent or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, but that's not right.
But The Simpsons is a caricature of everybody.
Right.
So I give it a pass. It's a caricature of everyone, including the fat, bald, white American man. The family man, you know, so it's making fun of everyone equally, in my opinion. Now he's gone.
Right.
And I'm like, and I ask people on Twitter and ask on YouTube comments and whatnot, I'm like, do you guys even care? And most people don't give a shit. There are some people who care who are like, you know, whenever I talk about like bad white actors in Indian films, they go, that's what you get for Apu. Like sometimes that's the joke that comes back to me, but but most of the time Indians don't give a shit about Apu, you know?
Yeah, I can't recall any of my Indian friends ever like expressing that they were so upset about Apu.
Right. The one thing I did hear was like they were just happy to have representation. What made me laugh so hard about this was how he basically turned it on the guy and saying he had a fucked up accent.
Yeah.
You know, that just caught me off guard, so it tickled me a lot.
I like that joke. I mean, I kind of saw that joke coming, but it was still really funny to me.
The thing about how Indians don't aspire to imitate the accents of certain countries.
Yeah.
I don't know how true that is. You guys can let me know, but I have heard a wide swath of Indian accents in India or just from Indians that have spoken to me. Like Pooja sounds Russian. She sounds like, if I didn't know where she was from, I would have thought she was some kind of Russian diplomat or something like that, because she's from New Delhi. She just has that kind of sound to her, and I think her dad was from Russia or lived in Russia for a little bit. I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
But nonetheless, it's like, there's no one Indian accent. It's so varied. So, I don't know, like you probably, I'm sure there are Indians who have a Russian accent or a Mexican accent or whatever.
Maybe.
You know, again, continuing on with this thing about accents and Indians trying to pick up accents that are from aspiring countries. Most of the Indians I've heard here in the States have some kind of accent from, you know, like back home. You know what I mean? So, like,
oh, yes.
Most of the Indians I've met don't sound American.
Unless they were born here or they came here when they were really young.
Sure.
Yeah.
But, like, most of the ones that I've met have some kind of an accent. And I don't mind. I'm just saying, like, most of the ones that I've met don't sound American, so it sort of goes against his point. I mean, I know he's just making jokes here, but it sort of goes against his point of, you know, Indians hooking into the aspiring accent. Like, if I met someone, an Indian who was English, it's because they grew up there. If I met an Indian who sounded Australian, it's because they grew up there. It's not because they wanted to have the accent. It's because they grew up there. So it wasn't by choice. It's just their surroundings. That has nothing to do with choice, is all I'm trying to point out. There's a fallacy here. It has nothing to do with wanting to sound American. It just comes, that's just where it comes from, is like growing up here. Now, if you have Indians in India who sound a particular way, then I get it, because there are a lot of Indians who watch like Western cinema, and like depending on what they watch, they will sound kind of like those movies.
Yeah, like I wonder, because there seems to be like a running joke in media, right, about certain people, like certain Indians who, you know, try and put on this accent of like being super cool, like, oh my God, so like I spent a summer in America and now I talk like this, you know, maybe that's out there. It's just in our experience, which is pretty limited, we haven't really come across that.
But in all fairness to those people, we do that. Like, and it just has to do with adoption. It's like you're just sort of...
You're just trying to fit in.
You're just trying to fit in. I mean, I don't know. I think it might be a Hapa thing, but like as someone who's of mixed race, you're just trying... It's almost like you're trying not to be noticed. Like you're just trying to slide in and get along with everyone and be sort of a chameleon.
Yeah.
And so when I've gone back to New York, even ACHARA, like, she's seen it, where I start picking up this accent. I don't know anyone, like, I don't know that many people from the South. I have not ever lived in the South. I don't have any family in the South. But when I go to Texas, some kind of Texas twang starts coming out of my mouth. I'm like, I don't even know if that's Texan, but some kind of Southern drawl starts coming out of my face. And I'm like, I don't know why that's happening, but it just happens. It's the weirdest thing.
Assimilation.
Yeah, some kind of an assimilation. And so I don't have too much hate on Indians who go abroad and then they like pick up some kind of sound. But if they think they're above you because of it, then I've got an issue.
Right.
That's where I take issue.
Yeah.
It's more the mental than it is the accent that I might take umbrage with. Marching is not just a thing for the States. That's a thing in France as well. I mean, that's just a Western idea, I suppose. Is your marching
protesting?
It's protesting.
It's your right to protest.
Right.
Your freedom of speech is very important.
As opposed to something like storming the Capitol. You have a peaceful protest. What it does is it draws attention to itself, and invariably you'll get media coverage, right? And so now it's getting talked about. And the idea is that there's a spotlight on this issue that people are marching for now, right? That's the whole point of it. It's not, I wouldn't say it's pointless all the time. When Trump got voted into office and then you had the female march, people going, not my president. I'm like, I don't think that's gonna do shit. No. You go ahead and try. It's your democratic right to do that. Like you're allowed to do that as an American. So go ahead, march. But I don't think it's going to do shit. There are a lot of instances where I don't think it's going to do anything, but it's still your right and you collectively voicing your opinion about your feelings.
Yeah, but it's almost like he's saying that, white people or Americans or whatever, it's basically like a nation of Karens. And on some level, I'm like, well, yeah, that's the culture, right? Mm-hmm. Of this, because coming from first Thailand and then the UK, which have very different cultures, to America, like one of the things that kind of baffled me was this whole like, oh, but the customer is always right in America, and like I can return anything that I want, and I can get them to remake my food, or you have to remake my coffee 10,000 times. And for me, I'm still like, oh, but like, I don't want to trouble you. Mm-hmm. Like I don't want to, it's fine. I'll just take the shitty coffee. I'll just never come back here. Mm-hmm. Whereas Americans are like, no, I have a voice. And I guess it's like you say, like even for things which might seem kind of not a big deal, it's like, no, but it's all right. And we're going to march and we're going to make signs and it's going to be great. And then...
But if I had to choose between that and no rights at all...
Yeah, no, I totally take it. But I think the thing is he's saying like other people in other countries are protesting and they're out there and they're angry and they're throwing Molotov cocktails and they're fighting with the police. I don't agree with that.
That's an American thing probably, but I don't agree with violence.
No, I'm not into I'm not into violence. Peaceful protesting I can get behind all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even though I didn't go out there, I was glad that we had protests after the George Floyd incident.
Yeah.
We needed that. And people came together, and it was actually a beautiful thing to see that.
Well, considering that it was a pandemic as well.
Right, exactly.
And that's the thing, like that's why, like I didn't participate because I was like, no, I fear for my safety. But for those people who were, angry enough, incensed enough to go out there and, participate in the middle of a pandemic, I'm like, yeah, you feel very, very strongly about this.
No, I mean, I felt strongly too, but I'm going to feel strongly from my living room.
Yeah, I feel strongly from my living room, and I'm going to like do the research and donate to the appropriate people and do my part. But like, if you feel so inclined to do that, then like more power to you. It
was a very thought-provoking comedy special, which
as always
seems to be his thing now.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool. I think it's bold, and we need more people like this who are willing to put it out there. And he's taking chances, because there are invariably going to be people who just feel so uncomfortable. They're going to want to do something harmful to him. And I just hope that he's able to keep doing what he does.
Yeah, he's
that
just
simple.
a guy
Yeah.
talking about stuff.
Yeah, and so if you guys appreciate what he does, it's very important that you subscribe to his channel and show him support in some way. So that's it for now. Thanks so much for hanging out. I'm Jaby KOAY. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.